They call her Pocahontas.
No, it's causing her problems. You know, that name's good because now even the liberals are saying, take a test. Take a test.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Elizabeth Warren failing her DNA test. Now, I was not going to do a video about this at first. I felt it was kind of a passing story. It wouldn't really be relevant in 24 hours, but there is much that I've read over the past few hours and much that I've seen in my reading that prompted me to do this video. It's not just about Elizabeth Warren. It's not just about this particular moment in time. It goes back many years, and it also involves other institutions and individuals. Now, if you don't know who this is or what the whole story is about, let me explain. Elizabeth Warren is in politics. She is a current Democratic senator from Massachusetts, and she's been in academia for a long time as well as a law professor. She most recently taught at Harvard. She also taught at Penn and Texas. Now, from 1986 to 1994, she was listed as a quote-unquote minority teacher by the Association of American Law Schools. Now, you see the picture of her on the screen before you. Does that appear to be a minority to you? It does not to me. However, according to Ms. Warren's own words, she told this association and the schools that she was a law professor at that she has Native ancestry. That's what she said. However, this DNA test proves something else. It has her at a 95% European ancestry. All right. And that's kind of a low end estimate of her European ancestry because there are other markers that did not meet the 99% correct or complete threshold. So she could be 98 to 99% European. The other 5% is not the Native American. You're talking about a fraction of a percent. The other 5% is probably other European, not Native American. So how is it that you're able to be listed as a minority teacher for almost 10 years by the Association of American Law Schools? How is it that you told the schools you attended that you are Native, but you're only a fraction of a percent Native? That does not make any sense. Now, before I get into Donald Trump's comments that were talked about before, the whole Pocahontas and the $1 million thing, let's just stay on the subject of percentage of race and what makes somebody what they are. Look at my face just for a moment. Just look at me. Just look. You see my face. You see I'm a black guy. There's no way you're going to come in and say that I'm anything other than black. You're not going to say, oh, he's Native, he's white, he's anything else. You're going to say I'm black, and you'd be correct. However, you may not know that my grandmother on my father's side is the same complexion as, or was the same complexion as, Elizabeth Warren. All right. My great grandfather on my mother's side was mixed, black and white. But here I am. I have more European ancestry than Elizabeth Warren has Native ancestry by a long shot. But am I going to call myself white? Absolutely not. It does not make any sense. Actually, most African Americans have about, if they're lucky, probably 80% African ancestry. That's probably on the high end. It's probably closer to 70, 75. All right. Maybe even lower than that. Somebody like, who was that? Angela Rye had like 30% Native or white or something like that. I think it was 30% Scottish. But is she white? So, I mean, what are we really doing here? At what point do you say that somebody is a thing or they're not a thing? It looks like to me that Elizabeth Warren, a.k.a. Pocahontas, is a $2 Indian. Somebody that's claiming to be Native, but obviously is not. Let's get to Trump, because that's kind of the elephant in the room here. People are talking about, oh, Trump offered Elizabeth Warren $1 million for the DNA test. No, he didn't. He was at a rally and he was talking in hypothetical sense. And if you want to see that particular clip from the rally, I'll place that in the description box below. But in the rally, he was saying, if I was in a debate with her and then she brought up the whole Native American ancestry, he would toss out a DNA test and it would kind of like hit her, but not really injure her in the arm. She could take it right there, and then she could prove that she is an Indian. And if she were to be able to prove it, that she's an Indian, then he would give her $1 million to the charity of choice. But there's two things here. Number one, This is a hypothetical situation. He did not say, if she takes a DNA test, I will offer her that. He said, if we had a debate and I was to toss out this DNA test and she took it after she claimed she was Indian, then I'd give her $1 million. If number two, she proved that she was an Indian. Being 1,024th Indian does not prove that you're Indian or Native American here. It doesn't prove it, because I could tell you right now, I'm at least probably about 10 to 20% white, just based on my family tree that I know that I've actually met before. I knew my grandmother on my father's side, and I also knew my great grandfather on my mother's side. I knew both of them. I was alive long enough. I mean, Granny didn't pass away until I was in my 20s, and my great grandfather died when I was like 10. So I was able to be around him and talk to him. I knew him. I saw these people. I would see the curly hair, all that kind of stuff. So I know, just based on physical proof from looking at my own eyes, that I have that percentage in me. I'm not going to sit here and claim to be white. Elizabeth Warren, her ancestry allegedly comes from an ancestor that came like 300 years ago. You're talking about the 1700s. All right. So what are we really talking about here? At the end of the day, she is a fraud that lied about her ancestry. Yes, she did. She's obviously white. There's no way you're going to sit there and tell me that this person appears to be native. I mean, come on. I look at Elizabeth Warren. I see Angela Merkel. I see straight Germany, England, France. I don't see any kind of native at all. Talking about her mom said she had high cheekbones. So what? Just because you have a high cheekbone does not mean you're native. And even if you believe that, why would you tell an institution that and be listed as a minority teacher for almost a decade if you don't have sufficient evidence to back up what you say? Obviously, you're not going to have any pictures of somebody in your family that appears to be native, because the alleged native ancestor did not live during a time where there was any kind of photography, unless you got some kind of oil painting or something like that. But there's no evidence to say that she is what she claims she is. And they're trying to say that she may be the 2020 candidate to go against Trump. Please. She's already failing right now. If you can't even be upfront with who you are and your actual ancestry, why would I trust you to run the nation? You have a problem with lying. You're not a truthful person. And the media, the media ought to be ashamed of themselves. I'm seeing all kind of headlines talking about, oh, she has strong evidence of the native ancestry. Donald Trump won't cough up $1 million that he promised her if she proves she was native. They're really grasping for straws. There is no way you're going to sit there and tell me that being a fraction of a percent of a particular ethnic group makes you that group. You are 95% European. I would go as far as to say that there is white Europeans in Europe that don't have that high of a DNA percentage of European. Yeah, right? It's definitely a lot of white folks here that don't have that high of a percentage of European. And it's definitely a lot of black folks that don't have that high of a percentage of African DNA in them. At the end of the day, as I close, I just want to say this is an example of why affirmative action and quotas and stuff like that are a farce. You're going to have people that claim to be a thing that they are not. All right. And then if you can be if you can be a fraction of a percent of a race and get benefits, then that opens the floodgates. All you got to do is find people that are willing to take a DNA test, present the evidence and say, well, I have 1%, whatever DNA me, so I should be able to get benefits. You may have a guy that's like 98% white that came from Europe recently, and in the DNA it says that he has 1% black, so now he has all kind of benefits. What should happen is that all these particular race benefits should go away. Why should you be rewarded just because of your skin color or your particular ethnic group? It should all be about the best man to put his foot forward and put the nose to the grindstone should be the winner. It shouldn't be this whole thing about, oh, well, you're black, you're native, you're white, you're Indian. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you that. No, a true even playing field is not having these racial barriers one way or the other. See, back in the day, back before the 60s, you had racial barriers in the form of segregation. You can't come here if you're black. You can't come here if you're Irish. You can't come here if you're Catholic or Protestant or whatever it is. But now the whole thing is you can't come here, or no. The thing now is you can come here only if you have this. But it's the same thing. If you say that a person is admitted here because of this, you're also saying that somebody else is not admitted because of that. That's what's going on right now with Harvard, ironically enough, considering Ms. Warren did teach there as a law professor under this fake guise of being native. But for now, I digress. Harvard is being sued right now by some Asians in a class action lawsuit that are claiming discrimination against them, because I guess Harvard and other schools say that there are too many Asians in the higher levels of education performing very well above everybody, blacks, whites, anybody, Hispanics. So in order to counteract that, you got to have these kind of measures in place that reduce the amount of Asians that are admitted. You know, like a 230-point deduction in preference on their SAT scores. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have a black person who has a SAT score of X amount, the Asian has Y amount, and a part of admittance should be the SAT score. If the Asian has a 220-point increase in its SAT score over the black person would get in because they would get a 230-point bump. So that's 10 points less than the black person, although in reality, the Asian had a 220-point advantage. You see, that's what they do. And then they try to say, oh, well, they score low on social markers. It's all a game to try and get the numbers down to make the college look good, to have the college represent the nation as a whole. 60% white, 13% black, 18, 19% Hispanic, or 4% Asian. That's what they're trying to do. But that's just not the reality of the world. I'm kind of rambling here, but what do you think? Do you think that Elizabeth Warren is a Native American? The DNA test that she put out, mind you, this is not some kind of independent study. Nobody went behind her, picked up a coffee mug or a cup from a trash can and swiped the DNA and did the test. She put this out. And again, the DNA test is in the description box below if you want to see it for yourself. But do you think that being 1,024th Native makes you Native? Okay, 95% European, probably 4 to 5% other European. That's not 99% in the European marker, maybe like 95% in a European marker, and then a fraction of a percent Native. Does that make you Native? How do you feel about all these race-based programs in general? Should they be done away with? Isn't Rachel Dolezal, who benefited from college admission due to a so-called minority status? Sean King, same thing. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. Don't you think that people like this should not get advantages in college and job admissions because they say that they're a particular race, especially if they're lying? Whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below.